This story that I'm going to tell you goes way back to the beginning of time. Way back to the beginning of time. Before anything that anybody ever remembered. I mean, before you were born, before I was born, before anybody you know was born, and actually before anybody in their bloodline was born. This story goes all the way back to when God was a woman. Oh, I know. Hey, God a woman, of course. You see, African people saw God as a woman. African people said, well, after all, God gave birth to the universe. Now ask yourself, who gives birth, men or women? And then not only that, they said, God created all this beauty. Who creates more beauty, men or women? Well, you know, men have done paintings and all that stuff, but just a minute. I'm talking about creating beauty like everyday beauty. Like look at a single man's bathroom and look at a single woman's bathroom and look at all the curtains and frills and stuff like that. And single man, well, if he got a shower curtain, he's lucky. And think of just how much time that women spend making sure their eyes, making up their eyes so they don't look like they're made up. Well, African people said, creating all this beauty, well, who creates more beauty, men or women? God must be a woman. And then not only that, African people said, well, God is also loving and nurturing. Who's more loving and nurturing, men or women? Ask yourself that. You know the answer. Women, of course. Now, not that men are not loving and nurturing, of course, but if you ever think of loving and nurturing, you think of a woman holding a baby, don't you? Of course you do. African people said God must be a woman. And not only that, God is merciful and forgiving. Who's more merciful and forgiving, men or women? Hey, you know the answer to that. I never went to my father for mercy. From my father, I got justice. You did what, boy? Pop, get out of here. From my mama, oh, mama, just a minute, mama. Please, mama, no, mama, please, mama, just one more time, mama, please. Well, boy, you see, African people said, God must be a woman. And in many traditions, God is a jealous guy. Now, be honest. Who's more jealous, men or women? Now, hold on. Women are. Women are more jealous than men. If all the men came to a party or something, everybody together, found out they were all wearing the same suit, men wouldn't care. Hey, you look good in yours too, buddy. Hey, got a tie like yours. Hey, look at them socks and those shoes. Let's all go in together so we'll look like a team. Hey, yeah. Just let one woman show up wearing what just one other woman's wearing. Who she thinks she is trying to wear my dress? And look at her, she ain't doing nothing for it either. I got to go. If I got to put on that old rag I wore last year, child, I got to go. You see, men are not even jealous. Well, I know you're saying, yes, they are. No. Men are not jealous. Men are possessive. My wife, my car, my house, my boat. Yeah, my team, my kids, yeah. See, men are possessive. Men are not jealous. They're possessive. If a man's wife comes to, say, a potluck dinner, and she's cooked a real good cake and everybody likes it, he'll stand there and say, yeah, my wife did that, yeah. Yeah, my wife, yeah, my. You know? Possessiveness and jealousy are two different things. If a man buys a woman a ring, she'll take it in front of all of her girlfriends and say, look what he bought me. Didn't buy it for you, but bought it for me. That's jealousy. See, if a man sees his woman talking to another man, it's all right, as long as he knows that she knows she belonged to him. If a woman sees her man talking to another woman, oh, just a minute, she gonna get mad at that woman. What you looking over here for? Yeah, I'll pay the fine for what I'm gonna do to you. And get mad at the woman and not at her spouse, but the man gets mad at her, his spouse. Come here, baby. No, baby, come here. Right here. Now, what you doing talking to him? Don't you know you belong to me? You see, that's possessiveness. Now, when they get out of hand, they both appear to be the same thing. But God is a jealous guy. African people said God must be a woman. Now, way back at the time when everything was being done, God put everything in balance. God made sure that everything traveled together. I mean, for example, up and down, they hung around the middle. The North Pole and South Pole played at the equator. The right and the left, they stayed shaking hands. Warm and cold were always together. Hey, sadness and joy were always together. Crying and laughter were always together. And wisdom and foolishness, they were always together. So no matter what, there was a balance. I mean, for example, if foolishness showed up and doing all, and there would be wisdom saying, hey, hold on. Lie and truth were together. If the lie was just, you know, carrying on, the truth said, hold on, let me put some truth on that. Or if the truth was too hard to bear, lie was always there to, like, you know, tell you something to lift you over that hard time. Back when God was a woman. Well, one day, truth and lie were swimming, having a good time because they were always together. They were good friends, loving friends, and lie said, good friend, truth, I think I've had my swim for the day. I'm leaving. Truth said, good friend, lie, I like the water. I'm going to stay a little longer. So Truth came up on the shore, and he saw two piles of clothes. One was very neatly pressed and ironed and laid there carefully. The other was kind of raggedy and dirty and thrown in a pile. Lie said, I'll put these on. And it almost fit. Then Lie ran around doing what Lie does. Lie said, hey, all you black folks, you Africans, y'all was a bunch of savages till the Europeans came over there and civilized y'all. And some people said, hey, that was the truth, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the truth. Truth said, oh, yeah. The reason why y'all in the spot y'all in is because y'all sold each other into slavery. Was that true? Oh, that was the truth. I know the truth when I see it. Some people still believe that foolishness today. But for all of you who might believe that nonsense, I challenge you to just do one thing. Show me a document. Show me anything that says that. Oh, there's traders everywhere. But show me something that says it. Show me this bill of sale, the document. And what do Europeans buy us with, huh? Gold? Just a minute. Africa's got all the gold and still does. Oh, diamonds. Well, I ain't got to tell you who got all the diamonds. It's Africa. Oh, well, you know, iron pots. The first people to discover and use iron were African people. Okay. Pretty pieces of cloth. The first people to weave cloth were Africans. Okay, beads and, you know, glass beads. The first people to use glass for utensils and ornamentation were Africans. What'd they do? They brought soldiers. Humans don't sell each other. Africans didn't even believe that we own the animals. How could we own each other to sell each other? Well, Lie was enjoying this. He said, hey, guess what? The only reason y'all got the thing called slavery is because a nice white man named Abraham Lincoln freed y'all. And people were saying, that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. The fact of the matter is we were never slaves. We were never slaves. You've heard of somebody being a love slave, a slave to chocolate, a slave to the ribbon, slave to the rhythm. Hey, LaBelle said, I'm under your spell. I don't want to be free. You can make a slave out of me. A slave is somebody who has fallen in love with that thing that controls them against their will. We ain't never been slaves. We were captives because captives do one thing constantly, always try to get free. We were never slaves. Every place that's written, no matter who wrote it, it's a lie. But Lie was having a good time. Ha! He said, now y'all free, y'all too lazy to do anything. Yeah, y'all don't want to work, y'all just want to be on welfare. And now the W-2 come, what y'all want to do is just like sell dope and be G's. That's what all your young men want to do. Not only that, hey, all your women want to be hoochies, dancing at the clubs and everything. And people were saying, yeah, that's true, that's true. Yeah, that's true, that's true. Well, Truth saw this. And when Truth saw this, he swam as fast as he could up to the shore. And when he swam on the shore, he saw that dirty pile of wrinkled clothes, and he said, I'm not going to put those on. I'm going to get my own. So he took off running. And now Lie was like, yeah, it's like, oh, he saw Truth coming, and he took off running. And Truth was running, and Lie was running, and Truth was running, and Lie was running. And that's still going on today. You got the dressed-up Lie being chased by the naked Truth.
Along the Carolina coast, the Gullah people tell of a love story so powerful, so strong that nothing was ever meant to separate the two people. In the Ballad of Belle Dorcas, William Hook tells us the story of this powerful love. Belle Dorcas was as pretty as her name, and Belle Dorcas was free issue. Free issue meaning that she was the daughter of the owner of the plantation and his enslaved house mistress. Belle Dorcas's mama took great pride in the fact that her daughter was free because she had been given her free papers upon her birth. She would say to her daughter, Belle, Belle, my pretty baby, No slave quarters for you. You be free to come and go as you want. You be free to read, to write, and to have your own piece of land. Oh, Belle, Belle, my sweet, pretty Belle. Her mother had great conviction that Belle would marry another free-issue man so that they could live in freedom during this time. But Belle Dorcas had a whole different plan. You see, Belle Dorcas loved Joshua. Big, strong, fine Joshua. As bronze as he could be. As talented as he could be. Joshua was the strongest enslaved person on this plantation. But he had a special gift. He could play the fiddle. And he would go from plantation to plantation, playing and earning money. And with that money, he planned to buy his freedom. He was going to buy his freedom so he could marry his beautiful, lovely Belle. Well, as time went by, Belle Dorcas would sit and pine for her Joshua. Her mother was hoping that one of the free-issue men would capture her heart. And they brought her flowers, they brought her candy, they brought her everything. But one day she said to her mother, "Mama, I know I'm breaking your heart, but you're crushing mine. And it's Joshua that I'll marry, or I'll die, Mama, I'll die." Belle Dorcas sat on that porch and she drew her knees up to her, and she didn't eat, she didn't speak, and she sat that way for over a week. Finally, her mother went and she said to the owner of the plantation, "Oh, please let Belle marry her Joshua." And so Belle Dorcas married Joshua, married him and gave up her freedom and went to live down in the slave quarters. So that meant all that money that Joshua had saved to buy his freedom, to have his Belle. He took that money and he gave Belle a beautiful pair of earrings, the only thing he had ever been able to give her. And so it was that they lived as happy as enslaved people could live, with that love so strong that nothing could come between it. One day the owner of the plantation was out riding on his horse, and the horse threw him, and he fell and broke his neck. That meant that the land was sold, and the new owner of the plantation cared nothing for the traditions of maintaining families. And so it was that he decided to part Belle from her Joshua, was going to sell Joshua the very next week. Oh, Belle kept thinking, what can I do? So she said, "Oh, please, please don't take my Joshua. Don't take my Joshua from me. Oh, please sell me with him." "Belle Dorcas, I can't sell you. You're free issue. No one can sell you." What could Belle Dorcas do? She had nothing, no one. What could she do to keep her Joshua? Then she remembered Granny Lizard, the conjure woman who had all the magical powers. So she ran through the night, and she ran and knocked on Granny Lizard's door and told her what had happened. She told Granny Lizard, "Please, please keep him here. Don't let them take my Joshua." And so Granny Lizard said, "Baby, baby, a spell like that can be done, but a spell like that costs a lot of money. I've got money. I've got my earrings." And she took off those earrings, the only thing she ever had, and gave them to Granny Lizard. Granny Lizard said, "Now tonight when you're walking in the moonlight, take this bag, rub it on Joshua's neck. But I'm going to ask you something. Can you give him up in order to keep him?" And without answering or without thinking, she said, "Yes, yes." And so that night they walked in the moonlight, and she took that bag and she rubbed it on the back of his neck, just as he was holding her close and kissing her, what he thought for the last time. Suddenly he said, "Baby, stop doing that. You're tickling me. Stop it." And then as Belle watched, he started to tremble, he started to shake, and to her horror, he never said another word. Joshua turned into a tall cedar tree, full of green foliage and rich bark. And Belle stood there and she said, "What have I done? What have I done?" And she ran through the moonlight to Granny Lizard and said, "I gave you gold and you give me grief. What have you done?" And Granny Lizard said, "I asked, could you give him up in order to keep him? He'll never leave this plantation." Belle Dorcas was out of her mind. Granny Lizard said, Child, take the conjure bag. Take the conjure bag and rub it around the tree." Belle Dorcas ran through the night and she rubbed that bag around that tree. And out stepped big, fine Joshua. Oh, what a night they had, being together, and this was the way they lived, tree by day and Joshua by night. And all the years passed and they were happy, but one day she was out in the woods and she heard a strange a chopping down of a tree. You see, the smokehouse, the roof had started to leak, and it was to be that they needed extra strong cedar to make sure that that roof would never leak again. So they had been told to cut down the tallest cedar tree, and that was her Joshua tree. As she ran through the woods, she couldn't stop them, but she saw her Joshua tree on the ground. She lost her mind. She wandered back and forth, moaning and crying, wondering what would become of her. She would hear music at night, sometimes the music that sounded like the fiddle that Joshua used to play. One night she followed that music, and it led her to Granny Lizard's door. She had no money, she had no gold, but she knocked on the door. Granny Lizard said, "Oh, child, haven't you been without your Joshua long enough? Use the conjure bag." She remembered the conjure bag, and she ran through the night, ran to that smokehouse, and rubbed the bag around the house. And out stepped big, fine Joshua. And they were together again, and they lived together again like that for many years, smokehouse in the day and Joshua at night. Well, as time went by, Joshua stayed perpetually young, but Belle Dorcas grew older. Grew so old one day that she gave up that body, and Belle Dorcas died. Strangest thing happened. When she died, that smokehouse just disappeared. And when people happened to wander through that path where the smokehouse had stood, they saw the most miraculous thing. They saw two little cedar trees, little saplings, growing straight up to heaven, side by side.
There were 3 young men. They were angry young men, for you see, death had taken their mother, father, friends, and family members. They were very angry young men. The 3 young men were brothers, and in talking one day, the older brother said to the brothers, "Let us go out and find death and kill death so that no one else would ever have to die." And so the 3 brothers started on their journey. Now, it was customary in those times that as you traveled, people would see each other, and some would say, "Young man, how are you doing?" And others would say, "Where are you traveling to?" And as they were asked these questions, the 3 young men would reply, "We are going to find death and kill death, for you see, death has taken our mother, our father, our friends, and family members. We are going to find death and kill death so no one else will ever have to die." Now some, as they traveled, saw the 3 young men, angry brothers, and they laughed at them. Others saw them and thought perhaps they were crazy. But as the brothers journeyed, at some point they came to an old woman sitting in the bend of the road, her body bent with the wisdom of her years. As they approached the old woman, she looked at those young men and called out, "Sons, sons, where are you traveling to?" And those 3 angry young men, angry brothers, looked at that old woman sitting by the side of the road, her body bent with the wisdom of her years, and they replied, "We are going to find death, to kill death, so no one else will ever have to die. Death has taken our mother, our father, our friends, and family members." And that old woman sitting by the side of the road, her body bent with the wisdom of her years, looked at those 3 angry young men. Now maybe she saw in the younger brother that life had dealt him a blow, that he had dreams and hopes, and they had been dashed. Perhaps she looked at the other brother, the middle brother, and saw that he had been in love and had a broken heart. Perchance she looked at the older brother and saw that he had been robbed of his joy and his laughter. And so that old woman sitting by the side of the road, her body bent with the wisdom of her years, looked at those three young men and said to them, "Where are you going, and what are you going to?" And once again they said to her, "We are going to find death. We are going to hunt and kill death so no one else will ever have to die." And that old woman looked at those three young men and said to them, "Go home, live your lives, be happy, forget about this thing." But those three young men, those angry brothers, said to her, "We are going to find death and kill death. Death has taken our mother, our father, our friends and family members, and we are going to find death so no one else will ever have to die." Now that old woman sitting by the side of the road looked at those three young angry brothers, and she saw that she could not, they would not be convinced to change their mind. And so she said to them, "If you must do this thing, I will tell you where to find death." And that woman said, "Go down the road about 5 miles. When you come to the bend in the road, bend to the left. Go down about 2 miles. At some point you will come to a great tree. Dig up under that tree, and there you will find death." Those three young men thanked the old woman and hurried on their way. They went down the road about 5 miles. They came to the bend in the road. They bent to the left. They went down approximately 2 miles. They came to a great tree, and they began to dig up under that tree. That perhaps the shovel touched what was a great rock. And in their excitement, they began to dig faster and faster. At some point, the shovel struck a box. And in their excitement, they forgot about finding death and killing death. They opened the box. 7 golden coins. Oh, the sun caught the coins. 7 golden coins, they said. And the older brother said to the younger, "Go into town and buy wine and bread so that we may celebrate." And the younger brother hurried on his journey. And as he walked, he thought, 6 golden coins. Why, I can have all 6 coins. I can buy poison and wine and bread. And that's what he did. He hurried on his way. Now the 2 brothers standing at the great tree, the older brother said to the younger, 6 golden coins. Why, we can have 3 golden coins apiece. When our brother returns, let's kill him, and we each can have 3 golden coins. And so when the younger brother returned, they pounced on him and killed him. 6 golden coins, 3 golden coins apiece. They spread their blankets out. They sat down to enjoy and relax. They began to eat the bread and drink the wine, and they, too, found death.
Kucha Brownlee, I like the way you sing. In the upper room with my Jesus, I'm in the upper room talking with my Lord and your God. In the upper room, I'm in the upper room, in the upper room, talking with my Lord. I was just remembering a woman that was born right here in Chicago, not born in Chicago, but she lived in Chicago, and she was so important when I was coming up. They called her the Queen of Gospel, Mahalia Jackson. When she sang, you could feel it. People said she didn't just believe in God, she knew God. And she was the first gospel singer that got famous. She was on television. Oh, when she would come on television, we would all run, tell our friends, Mahalia's on television. Come on, you got to see it. We'd call them up. Everybody sat there, spellbound, waiting to hear her sing, smiling. She made you feel so good. Now, when I was a little girl, we used to go back and forth to Memphis, Tennessee. Every year we went to Tennessee because that's where my people are from, and we would go visit relatives. Sometimes we would drive, and sometimes we would take the train. This one particular time, we were on our way back from Memphis, and I was sitting there, and I said, Mom, what are all those white people doing here? See, back then, we had separate cars, and so white people weren't usually on the same car as us. So I said, what are all those white people? And she said, Mahalia Jackson is sitting up there. I said, Mahalia Jackson? Oh, can I go meet her? And she said, wait a minute, honey. Let the crowd die down. So I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I fell asleep. But when I woke up, the car was dark, and there were no people standing in the aisle. So I said, Mom, can I go now? And she said, go ahead. And I walked up the aisle. I was so excited. I stood right next to her and looked at her, and she looked over at me, and I said, I like the way you sing. And she said, thank you, honey. Oh, I floated back down the aisle. I was so excited. I was so excited. And my sisters, they were asleep, but when they woke up, I said, I met Mahalia Jackson. And they said, where? I said, she's sitting right up there. And they came. I was going to show them. I was going to introduce them. But Mahalia got off at 63rd Street. And so they missed her. But I met Mahalia Jackson in person.
The first settler of Chicago was an African American. What happened to his recognition? What happened to his recognition? What happened to his recognition? We're about to recognize him right now. He was an educated brother, a man of respect, a Haitian-born brother. From a violent past, his mother was killed, and his home was burned. So DuSable and his father turned to France, a land where he could be a man of means who loved equality. He heard of America across the sea, and he knew that it was called the land of opportunity. So he called his bold best friend, and they bought a ship, set sail, and the motion of the ocean, the rise, the fall, the chop, chop, chop of the water caused his friend to get sick. When they reached the shore, he could move no more. But DuSable, you know he had to go and explore. He met a Choctaw who knew the land, and together they devised a master plan. They bought supplies, built a boat, and down the Mississippi they started afloat. Along the way they met Chief Pontiac, a Native American who admired the fact that DuSable loved freedom too. So he decided to stay and learn the Indian ways, hunting, trapping, respect for the land. So DuSable just developed a new plan. He left the village, used his skills, and started trapping for trade. And before you knew it, DuSable had it made. He signed on the dotted line, and old Fort Peoria he could now call mine. DuSable is the founder of Chicago. In 1772, with deed in hand, he built a log cabin on Lake Michigan. It became the center of trade. Folks came from everywhere. As his fortune grew, you know, he had to share. He visited with the people of the land, the Potawatomi tribe. And Pretty Kittihawa became his bride. DuSable is the founder of Chicago. Just recognizing y'all. DuSable worked hard, and the fruit of his labor grew and grew. A large family house, a dairy, a bakery, a smokehouse, a workshop, and a horse-powered mill. DuSable had a beautiful family. They all lived respected. DuSable, he just loved peace and tranquility. And you know, he just took his own money from time to time, and he bought enslaved people so he could set them free. Realizing his dream, he set forward to make better what we now know as the Windy City, Chicago. You better recognize DuSable is the founder of Chicago. DuSable is the founder of Chicago. The first settler of Chicago, Jean-Baptiste Point DuSable. DuSable is the founder of Chicago. DuSable is the founder of Chicago. Better recognize.
I have taken as my text neither this life nor the next, nor existence as it were when there were none. But I want to carry y'all to that point beyond recall, when existence were beginning to begun. In the middle of the void, where a vacuum was employed by a vacancy that's absent from a whole, full of nothing more or less than a lots of emptiness, there had never been a solitary soul. What was missing from the top took this unexpected drop, and long before it got to bottom, it was all gone. Since the outside wasn't there, when the inside went nowhere, the whole disappearance vanished from then on. And the Lord say, this ain't much. I was totally out of touch. I ain't got nowhere, so got nowhere to go. Ain't no one but me around, and I's never yet been found. This existence am a big Z-E-R-O. Seeing everything were hid, Lord say, something must be did. Reckon I'll get busy and create a bit. Let's see what to work on first. I knows what. the universe. Yeah, I'll need me lots of room for stuff to fit. Never being one to shuck, the Lord set himself to work. And in Nothing Flat had something swell design. It had galaxies in place, each with its own cosmic space, operated by a universal mind. He had agencies like fate to control and regulate endless stores of time and space and energy, all vibrating with a force coming from a hidden source and developed from a secret recipe. All to which he set his hand, turned out fine as it were grand, and for every part he made a counterpart. There was certainty for doubt. Every in had some way out, and at every stop he put in one more start. 'Twas splendiferously vast, and he tended it should last him at least a full eternity or two. So the Lord had time arranged to take it all through constant change and replace what done growed old with what grew new. Then the Lord, he struck a spark, and he set it next to dark, and his whole creation come to life in light. And he said, that's good, not bad. And ain't there another to be had. And he guaranteed the works with all his might. Now, some complain it had its flaws, but I reckon that just 'cause they ain't never seen no universe before. So I was telling them and you, this one here gonna have to do, 'cause the Lord ain't promised us he'll show no more. Let me hear you say amen. Let me hear amen again. Let the whole church say amen. Amen. That's good. Now, you just had the overview. Let's get down to me and you and how we come to this here neighborhood. Now, one way to tell them told, for the world got very old, the Lord looked it over and he said, ooh, boy, this world am a garden spot. Ain't a thing this world have not except someone like me around to share its joy. Then he scratch his head and say, I knows what, I'll take this clay and I'll fashion me a critter in my shape. Then and there, he laid the plan for the origin of man, although some say first he warmed up as an ape. Anyhow, mankind were got, and first plunked into the pot out of clay the Lord made sticky with his spit. Then he fitted with a soul, switches on the main control, and he gets so happy he said, this won't quit. Hello there, somebody new. Welcome home and howdy do. I is your creator. You can call me Lord. Oh yeah? Howdy, Lord. What gives? Well, the main thing am you lives and develops according to the plans I's drawed. I's chose Adam for your name. Adam? If it's all the same, could I have one with a more heroic sound? Hero? Where you get that stuff? Adam sound heroic enough. Hush and pay attention while I shows you around. I calls this place Paradise. Has made all this critters twice, male and female. You can see how they abound. Running water and clear skies, plus plenty of supplies, 'cause I found a way to grow them out the ground. There's the moon, and that's the sun. They's what get the business done. It's too complicated to go into now, but when you put in some time and I's not so busy, I'm going to get with you and explain precisely how. Oh, there's more stars than you can count. I made an extra large amount 'cause they keeps the heavens looking nice at night. Plus, they got a special force keep the universe on course so it don't veer off to neither left nor right. Everything that I creates got a way it operates that don't take to too much meddling from outside. Leave things go their natural way, and if they's the chance to stray, 'cause I's always here to serve and be their guide. How much disposition pay? disposition, did you say? Well, don't worry. You get more than what you's worth under any circumstance, else you wouldn't stand a chance of surviving on this here now planet Earth. Oh, yeah? What that's supposed to mean? Oh, that's right. You hasn't seen what can happen when I lets my nature go. Grab a hold of that big rock and get ready for a shock, 'cause I's finna put me on a little show. Then he dimmed the lights to doom, and the Lord makes thunder boom as the lightning flashes in with heavy rain. The volcano blows its stack, and the heavens seem to crack, and the wind whoops itself to a hurricane. This sounds some of my rough stuff. Shut it off, I've seen enough. Oh, no, little man. It's much too soon. You ain't caught the tidal wave or the avalanche, I'll say, for the earthquake that come after the typhoon. This get Adam so afraid, he go right clean out his head as the Lord runs wild and scowls and growls and howls, has conniptions and the shakes and a few big first-class quakes. Adam learns him and the earth has both got bowels. The Lord lets his nature rage about a quarter of an age till he finally say, whoa, I get carried away. But I turn my tempest off and go back to being soft soon as I done learnt that Adam how to pray. I already knows how now, but you was raised in such a row, you ain't heard a thing that I've been trying to say. If you just shut off this star and make me comfortable and warm and tell me what you want done, I'll sure obey. So he learned to pray indeed. Pay attention and take heed of the wonders in this world the Lord done made, of the ways it works and blends, and the blessings the Lord says, and to say amen and thank you when he prayed. It was Adam and the Lord in harmonious accord, complimenting one another all the way. Lord, you sure knows how to plan. Adam, you am my main man. And their love became the order of the day. Once it's been agreed, we all have need to pray to the one who leads as life proceeds along the way. Once that's fully understood, that's when we's all set for good, and love becomes the order of the day. Once we feel the force of great comfort in the dark, and relate it to the source that lighted every living spark. Once we take the attitude that we owe some gratitude, then love becomes the order of the day. Much like the presence of faith in a prayer, love is the essence of creative care. Love needs to nourish, flower and flourish, treasure and cherish, and fully declare. Once we comprehend that the love to which we pray cannot ever end nor be diminished, come what may. Once it finally comes to mind to return that love in kind, then love becomes the order of the day, of the day, of the day. Love becomes the order of the day. We're weary as Rosa Parks sat down for one more crowded, dreary bus ride home cross town. Yes, Rosa Parks was tired of being on her feet, so though the law required that she relinquish her seat because it was demanded by some man who was white, just like a tree that's planted, she sat with all her might. A brave determination reflected in the eyes of this respected matron as she refused to rise, despite the hostile fury, the white-hot hate she saw, the threat of judge and jury upholding Jim Crow law. She sat as if commanded by destiny to stay. She sat as if God granted her some special powers that day. The police came and jailed her and charged her with a crime, and although her friends bailed her out in almost no time, by then, Negroes had been made mad. Heads had begun to shake, and they were saying they'd had about all they would take of bus seat segregation, for which they paid full fare, the gross humiliation they all were made to bear. Next night, they had a meeting. The church was packed and jammed as they discussed bus seating and vowed that they'd be damned if they'd continue riding with Jim Crow. They would not. They ended up deciding to call a bus boycott. Now, this was in Montgomery, in Alabama, where white folk could be quite ornery and black folk best beware. But now, with Negroes showing no sign of old-time fear, they kept that boycott going for nearly about a year. Kept walking, formed carpools, never balked. Despite the white folks squawking, they walked and walked and walked till they got satisfaction, got Jim Crow laws knocked down, and through their demonstration immortalized that town, Montgomery, Alabama. The demonstration made in that bus boycott drama, oh, what a change that made, led by heroic Rosa, so dignified and brave. Our children need to know the great leadership she gave, the heroes who have courage to leave distinctive marks are sheroes we should cherish, like Sister Rosa Parks. Hottest fever cools. Those who won't face that fact are fools, for like all men, time overrules a ladies' man. What once was warm began to chill as Father Time enforced his will until I wondered, am I still a ladies' man? At first I tried to hide my loss, pretending I was still the boss with girls who'd never come across a ladies' man. But they moved with too swift a step. I needed patience more than pep to keep alive my fading rep, ladies' man. Don't get me wrong now, I'm not dead. My shoulders hold a damn good head, so joy has not completely fled, a ladies' man. But it can never be the same. The vigor has vanished from my game. For reminiscing, can you blame a ladies' man? I look back on the life I've led. What might my powers have got instead had I not shot so much in bed, a ladies' man? What tricky trade might I have tried had I not laid preoccupied? But then who's ever satisfied a ladies' man? The women I made frequently, each in her heart held secretly that she was really making me a ladies' man. A woman feels, a man may guess, that she conceals beneath her dress a trap in which she can possess a ladies' man. She throws the bait, she shows the lure. There's no escaping, that's for sure. You're never really free when you're a ladies' man. Each fellow follows his own star, but take no appetite too far. That's sound advice in case you are a ladies' man. But you call all this sour grapes, devote yourself to willing rapes, and never mind what all escapes a ladies' man. All youth must feel betrayed by age. I'm reading from a later page, and you can't hear me at your stage, a ladies' man. Therefore, my boy, enjoy your prime until your fateful date with time when you can claim no longer I'm a ladies' man. Hey, there's a beauty. You agree? Got quite a body, hasn't she? Well, sock it to her once for me.
People ask me, how do you find the stories that you tell? How do you remember them all? And it reminded me of a story. Once there was a very wise teacher who was walking along a riverbank with one of his students. And his student said to his teacher, "How come you always seem to know exactly the right story to tell to explain a very complicated piece of law?" And the teacher said, I am going to answer your question with a story. Once, a long time ago, there was a nobleman. And the nobleman had a son who had just graduated from the military academy. And the nobleman's son had received a certificate in marksmanship. He was the best marksman in the entire military academy. And he was coming home to visit his father. As he rode on his big white horse through all the little villages, he came upon a small town. And what he saw there astonished him. He saw there, on the side of a barn, 100 perfect bullseyes. 100 perfect bullseyes, he thought. I got the certificate in marksmanship, and I could have never done that. I must meet the person who was this sharpshooter who shot these 100 perfect bullseyes. So he shouted from the top of his horse, "Please, please bring me the person who was this expert marksmanship. I must shake his hand." And a little boy came up to him and tugged his pant leg and said, "Oh, sir, no, no, no. You don't want to meet that person. That's Nar, the town fool." And the nobleman's son said, "I don't care if he's the town fool or whoever he is. I could have never done such a feat. Please bring him to me." And the little boy tugged his pant leg again. He said, "No, no, sir. You don't understand. You see, Nar didn't draw the circle first and then shoot. He shot first, and then he drew the bullseye around the bullet hole." And so it is with me, the wise teacher said. I listen to many, many stories, and I read many, many stories. And then when that perfect story, just that story that I want to tell comes along, I create my perfect bullseye.